February 20th, 2009. FBI agents arrested a man at his girlfriend's house in Virginia, Robert Allen Stanford, but everyone called him Sir Allen because the Queen of England knighted him. He owned islands in the Caribbean, a cricket stadium in Antigua, a private jet fleet, sponsored international cricket matches, threw parties with celebrities. Forbes listed him as the 205th richest American, net worth $2.2 billion. Except he wasn't a billionaire. He was running a $7 billion Ponzi scheme from a tiny island called Antigua. 28,000 investors, mostly from Latin America, lost everything. Allen was sentenced to 110 years in prison. He's 74 now, serving time in Florida, claims he has amnesia, can't remember his crimes. This is the story of the cricket-obsessed billionaire who fooled the world and got away with it for 20 years. From a Caribbean island most people can't find on a map. Robert Allen Stanford, born March 24th, 1950, Mexia, Texas, small town, population 6,000. His grandfather owned an insurance agency. His father expanded it, Stanford Insurance Group. Allen grew up around money, but not billionaire money, middle class. He went to Baylor University, business degree, graduated in 1974. Then he took over the family insurance business. At first, he did okay, but in 1982, his company went bankrupt. Allen lost everything. He blamed regulators, blamed the government, blamed everyone but himself. He moved to Montserrat, a small Caribbean island, tropical paradise, British territory, loose financial regulations. He opened a new company, Guardian International Bank, started taking deposits from wealthy Latin Americans. The pitch? Offshore banking, privacy, high returns, no U.S. taxes, no government oversight. It worked. Money poured in. Allen moved to Antigua, another Caribbean island, bigger, better infrastructure, more respectable. 1985. He founded Stanford International Bank. This became his empire. By the early 90s, Allen had hundreds of millions under management. He was living like royalty, private jets, yachts, mansions. But the money wasn't real. From the beginning, Stanford International Bank was a fraud. He was using new investor money to pay old investors, classic Ponzi scheme, and he ran it for 25 years from a Caribbean island where nobody was watching. Allen Stanford built an empire in Antigua, not just a bank, a lifestyle. He owned half the island, hotels, restaurants, newspapers, radio stations. He employed 15% of Antigua's workforce. 3,000 people worked for Stanford companies. He was the biggest employer after the government. Allen funded schools, built hospitals, sponsored sports. The Antiguan government loved him, gave him a diplomatic passport, made him an ambassador, knighted him, Sir Allen Stanford. He donated millions to Antiguan politicians. In return, they left him alone. No financial oversight, no audits, no questions. Stanford International Bank operated like a black box. Investors sent money, got statements showing high returns, but nobody knew where the money actually went. Because Allen was spending it on himself. He built a cricket stadium, Stanford Cricket Ground, cost $20 million, held the Stanford 2020 tournament, $1 million per player, winner take all, biggest prize money in cricket history. Allen loved cricket, British sport, colonial nostalgia. He wanted to be seen as a British gentleman, not a Texas hustler. He threw parties on his yacht, 300 feet long, named Serenova. Celebrities everywhere, models, athletes, politicians. Allen was living a fantasy, billionaire playboy, cricket patron, Caribbean king, and everyone believed it because the returns looked real. Stanford International Bank claimed consistent double-digit returns every single year, even during recessions. Investors trusted him, Latin American elites, wealthy families, retirees. They had no idea it was all fake. Here's how the fraud worked. Stanford International Bank sold certificates of deposit, CDs. Basically, you give them money, they promise to pay you back with interest. Allen claimed the bank invested in safe diversified assets, international stocks, bonds, real estate. He promised returns of 10 to 12% every year, guaranteed, even when the stock market crashed. That should have been a red flag. Nobody makes 12% every year, especially not safely. But people believed him because Allen had a secret weapon. Laura Pendergest Holt, Chief Investment Officer, Stanford International Bank's public face, she appeared on Bloomberg, CNBC financial conferences explaining the investment strategy. She sounded smart, credible, professional. Investors trusted her. But Laura was lying. There was no investment strategy. The money wasn't invested. It went straight to Allen. He used it for personal expenses, the cricket stadium, the yachts, the private jets, hundreds of millions on real estate, mansions in Miami, Houston, Antigua, St. Croix. He bought a Formula One team, tried to get into racing, gave $2 million to politicians, donated to both Democrats and Republicans, bought influence everywhere. Meanwhile, Stanford International Bank's balance sheet was fiction. Allen told investors they had $7 billion in assets. Real assets? Maybe $1 billion. The rest? Gone. Spent on Allen's lifestyle. New investor money paid old investors, classic Ponzi, and it worked for 20 years. Because nobody regulates Caribbean banks the way they regulate American banks. Allen operated in the shadows. The red flags were everywhere. 1999. The SEC examined Stanford International Bank, found suspicious activity, high returns with no clear strategy. They issued a warning, but didn't shut him down. 2002, another SEC examination, same concerns, still no action. 2003, 2005, 2007. The SEC kept investigating, kept finding problems, kept doing nothing. Why? Because Stanford International Bank was in Antigua, technically not under U.S. jurisdiction. Allen exploited that loophole. He had U.S. operations, Stanford Financial Group in Houston. But the bank, Caribbean, regulators couldn't touch him. Meanwhile, independent analysts were warning investors. Alex Dalmody, Venezuelan investor, published a report in 2008. Stanford International Bank is a Ponzi scheme. Laid out all the evidence. Nobody listened. Because Allen was too big, too connected, too respected. He had senators taking his money. Bill Clinton spoke at Stanford financial events for $500,000. The Antiguan government protected him. Politicians vouched for him. How could he be a fraud? Then came 2008, the financial crisis. Bernard Madoff's Ponzi scheme collapsed in December. 65 billion fraud. Suddenly, the SEC was under pressure. How did you miss Madoff? So they started looking harder at other suspicious firms, and Stanford International Bank was at the top of the list. January 2009, SEC investigators arrived in Antigua, demanded to see the bank's assets. Allen refused. That's when they knew. It was all fake. February 16th, 2009. The SEC charged Allen Stanford with massive fraud, $7 billion missing, ran a Ponzi scheme for at least 10 years, maybe 20. Stanford International Bank was shut down immediately. Regulators froze all assets. Allen was in Antigua when the charges came. He tried to flee, got on his private jet, flew to Virginia, to his girlfriend's house. February 20th. FBI agents surrounded the house. Allen surrendered, taken into custody, charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, mail fraud, obstruction, facing life in prison. His empire collapsed instantly. Stanford Financial Group shut down. Stanford International Bank liquidated. The cricket stadium seized. The yachts seized. The mansions seized. Everything gone. 28,000 investors lost $7 billion. Most of them were from Latin America, Venezuela, Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, wealthy families, retirees, business owners. They trusted Allen, put their life savings in his bank, because he was Sir Allen Stanford, knighted by the Queen, respected, connected, legitimate, and he stole everything. The Antiguan government was humiliated. They'd protected him for decades, gave him a diplomatic passport, made him an ambassador. Now their biggest employer was a criminal. 3,000 jobs disappeared overnight. Tourism collapsed. Antigua's economy tanked. The island that enabled Alan paid the price. Laura Pendergest Holt, arrested. She knew it was fraud, lied to investors for years. 4 more Stanford executives arrested. All of them cooperated, testified against Alan, admitted they knew. Everyone knew, except the investors. Alan Stanford fought the charges, claimed innocence. I didn't steal. I invested poorly. That's not fraud. Bullshit. Prosecutors had emails, documents, testimony, proof Alan used investor money for personal expenses, but the trial was delayed. September 2009, Alan was in jail awaiting trial, got into a fight with another inmate over a phone call. The inmate beat him severely. Alan suffered a traumatic brain injury, claimed he had amnesia, couldn't remember his crimes, couldn't assist in his defense. His lawyers argued he was incompetent to stand trial. Prosecutors said he was faking. Psychiatrists examined him. Results? Inconclusive. Some said real brain damage, others said malingering. The trial was delayed 3 years. Finally, January 2012, United States versus Robert Allen Stanford, Houston Federal Court. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Laura Pendergest Holt testified, admitted to lying to investors, said Allen directed everything. Other executives testified, same story. Allen spent investor money on himself, knew the returns were fake, knew it was a Ponzi scheme. Allen took the stand, testified for 3 days, denied everything. I believed in the investments. I thought we'd recover. I never intended to defraud anyone. The jury didn't believe him. March 6, 2012, verdicts, guilty. 13 of 14 counts, conspiracy, wire fraud, mail fraud, obstruction. Allen showed no emotion. June 14, 2012. Sentencing. Judge David Hittner had no mercy. This is a serious crime. You stole billions. 110 years in federal prison. Allen was 62 years old. He'd die in prison. 28,000 investors from 113 countries. Most didn't speak English, didn't understand U.S. law, trusted Allen because he was knighted. They lost everything. $7 billion gone. Jaime Alexis Reyes, Venezuelan investor, lost $2 million. His family's entire fortune, committed suicide. April 2009, couldn't face the shame. William Bartlett, Texas rancher, lost $600,000, his retirement. At age 73, he went back to work. Angela Shaw, Florida retiree, lost $1.6 million, life savings from her late husband's business. She lost her home, moved into her daughter's house. Across Latin America, families were devastated. Some lost everything and had to start over. Others sued, tried to recover funds. A court-appointed receiver, Ralph Janvey. His job? Track down Allen's assets, sell them, distribute to victims. He recovered over $1 billion. Sounds good, but it's only 15% of what was stolen. Most victims got back pennies on the dollar. Venezuela demanded extradition, wanted to prosecute Allen themselves. U.S. government refused. He's ours. He's staying here. The Antiguan government tried to distance themselves. We didn't know. He fooled us too. But evidence showed they took bribes. Politicians, regulators, police. Everyone was on Allen's payroll. Antigua's reputation was destroyed. Financial center? No one trusted them anymore. Tourism dropped, investment dried up. The island that enabled fraud paid the economic price for decades. Allen Stanford is serving his sentence. Federal Correctional Institution, Coleman, Florida, low security. He's 74 now, still claims amnesia. Can't remember the fraud, can't remember his crimes. Prison doctors examined him. Some say he has cognitive issues from the jail beating. Others say he's faking. Either way, he's not getting out. 110 years, he'll die there. In 2021, Allen appealed his conviction, argued ineffective counsel, said his brain injury prevented a fair trial. The appeal was denied. In 2023, he filed another appeal, argued the government violated his rights, denied again. Allen writes letters from prison to journalists, to anyone who will listen, claims he's innocent, says the SEC scapegoated him after Madoff, that his investments were legitimate, that the media lied, nobody believes him. Laura Pendergest Holt was sentenced to 3 years, served 2, released. She testified against Allen, cooperated fully. Other executives got short sentences, 2 to 5 years, all released now, living quietly. Allen, still fighting, still claiming innocence, still insisting his amnesia is real. Meanwhile, the victims, still broke, still waiting for justice, still angry. Some flew to Houston for his sentencing, wanted to see him go down, wanted to tell the judge what he did. Allen didn't look at them, didn't apologize, just sat there, cold, unrepentant. That's what victims remember most. He never said sorry. Allen Stanford's cricket obsession left a strange legacy. Stanford Cricket Ground in Antigua, $20 million stadium, seats 10,000 people, built to host international matches, named after him. After his arrest, they renamed it Vivian Richards Stadium, after the Antiguan cricket legend, trying to erase Allen's name. The Stanford 2020 tournament, $1 million prize, England versus Stanford All-Stars, November 2008, 3 months before his arrest. England won. Players took the money, then found out it was stolen. Some players tried to return it, but to who? The victims were scattered across the world. The cricket world was embarrassed. How did we let a fraudster sponsor us? International Cricket Council tightened rules, background checks, financial transparency. Allen had infiltrated cricket completely, sat on boards, influenced decisions, all to legitimize himself, make himself look respectable. British gentleman, cricket patron, philanthropist. It was all a facade, but it worked. For years, cricket legends praised him. Now they pretend they never knew him. The Antiguan cricket team still plays at the stadium, but Allen's name is gone. His face removed from photos, his plaques taken down. The island tried to forget, but some remember. The workers he employed, the people whose lives he touched, some still defend him. Say he did good things for Antigua, built schools, funded hospitals. That's complicated legacy talk. He built things with stolen money, money that belonged to 28,000 people. That's not philanthropy, that's money laundering. Allen Stanford ran a $7 billion Ponzi scheme from a tiny Caribbean island for 20 years and almost got away with it. Here's what his story teaches us. First, location matters. Allen chose Antigua because it had weak regulations, no oversight, corrupt government, easy bribes. Caribbean tax havens enable fraud, always. When someone offers offshore banking with high returns, run. Second, knighthoods don't mean legitimacy. Allen was knighted by Antigua, not by the Queen of England. Small Caribbean nations sell knighthoods for donations, for bribes. Sir Allen Stanford sounded impressive. It was meaningless. Third, the SEC failed. They examined Stanford International Bank 6 times. 6 times found problems. Did nothing. Because jurisdiction was complicated. Because Allen had political connections. After Madoff, the SEC was scared. They couldn't miss another Ponzi scheme, so they finally acted. But 20 years too late. Fourth, high consistent returns are impossible. Allen promised 12% every year, through recessions, through crashes. That's not investing, that's fraud. Nobody beats the market that consistently. If someone promises that, they're lying. Fifth, victims trust credentials over evidence. Allen had a knighthood, political connections, celebrity friends. Investors ignored the red flags because he looked legitimate. That's how con artists work. They sell the image, not the substance. Allen Stanford's case is forgotten now, overshadowed by Madoff, by Enron, by FTX, but it shouldn't be. Because he proved you can run a billion-dollar fraud from a small island. with government protection for decades and almost get away with it. The cricket stadium still stands, a reminder of the Texas hustler who wanted to be a British gentleman, who built an empire on lies, who stole $7 billion and spent it on yachts and cricket. Now, if you want to go deeper on this story, I recommend two resources. First, the documentary The Fallen Billionaire, Alan Stanford, shows his rise and fall, interviews with victims, investigators, and people who knew him. You can find clips on YouTube or streaming services. Second, there isn't a definitive book just on Stanford like there is for Madoff or Enron, but he's covered extensively in The Wizard of Lies by Diana Henriques and other Ponzi scheme books. I'm also recommending books on Caribbean tax havens and offshore banking in the description, because Stanford exploited a system that still exists. Antigua wasn't the problem, the system is. As long as tax havens exist with zero oversight, fraud will thrive. Alan Stanford proved that, and nobody fixed it.